So, Stephen, help me out. One of the many reasons why they rejected the last government was because of cost of living. Everything's got worse since, and in the lead up to this budget that we were told was going to be the start of answers, there will be no extra support for cost of living. So, apart from arguing whether they should or shouldn't, can you please explain to me the political genius that means there was a house fire, we hired a firefighter, and the firefighter just stands there and tells us it's going to get worse before it gets better, and everyone cheers them on?
Look, Paul, firstly, the world economy is going to rack and ruin at the moment.
Well, now it's
and
cyclical.
Australia's economy will not be immune from that. No, the problems that the world are facing are going to have an impact. Sure. So it is absolutely truthful and correct to say things are going to get worse. But let me just give you 2 or 3 examples of things that you choose to ignore when you want to try and make this point that Labor has done nothing on cost of living since it came to government.
Teach me.
First, they supported a substantial increase in the national wage case. They've called for a massive increase in the wages of people in the aged care sector. The paid parental leave scheme is an investment in the future, which will help.
4 years away,
people.
mate.
Okay, there's just...
And when Tony Abbott wanted to do it, it was the worst thing ever. This
idea that it's not going to happen after the next election, Paul, just stop it.
Well, that's their announcement.
It is going to happen. It is the announced policy. So you trying to pretend it's never going to happen because it's so far down the track is just a nonsense. But there's 3 things. Then there's the push on all of the climate change issues to get as much renewables into the marketplace as they can. So
power bills are not going up by 35%.
Drive down costs. And then, well, Paul, Labor's policies haven't been enacted yet. So every dollar that an Australian is paying in increased power prices is down to the last government's refusal to get behind what is a global trend. It decided, at the behest of some in the media and some of its own crazy backbenchers, that they were going to be King Canute. They were going to stop the global tide to push towards renewable resources. And where did that get them? They lost heartland Liberal seats. And then the final thing that they'll do in this coming budget is begin to help take some pressure off interest rates. There's 3, 4, 5 things that each time you want to have this debate, I will repeat them so that your viewers know that the government is doing things to help ordinary Australians with cost of living. Does it fix everything? Is it possible to fix everything in 6 months? And it's not even 6 months. But is it possible? No. Is it truthful to say the world economy is going to hit us? And it's going to hit us hard and it's going to make life difficult. All of this is just truthful facts.
Michael, I'm going to miss him when he's the Washington ambassador because, you know, he's gallant in his defence of the government in all ways. But come on, a childcare policy that doesn't kick in until after the next election. OK, if you happen to be lucky enough to be working in a shop, maybe ever so slightly up. If you work in aged care, maybe we'll see what the Fair Work Commission does. But the interest rate stuff, this is after what it's got up 6 times this year. Well, yes, once under the previous government. But honestly, Michael, I just want to take a step back. It's a Sunday night. We're mates. Let's have a chat. How does this crap work? How does the do nothing? How does the endless conversation about it gets worse before it gets better get rewarded by anyone? They were hired to fix an emergency and their response is to, at best, piddle on the fire.
So, mate, it works this way, that people who vote for a new government want that government to succeed. They want the outcome of their vote towards that government to result in the cuts that they promised of the $275. They're willing the government to succeed, as they were willing all governments to succeed during the pandemic. So that's why their vote is still strong. And the fact that no one has denied that the $275 is not going to be reached leads people to have some hope that maybe it will be. But we know it's not going to be, and none of the things that Stephen talked about, and never once did Albo say, oh, the $275 reduction by 2025 is conditional upon all of these other things. It was a blanket promise, and as Jane Hume correctly pointed out, he said it more than 100 times before the election and not one since. And by the way, something far more important than that, mate, which I must pick you up on, when you referred to Stephen Conroy as the potential ambassador to Washington, Guess who they are going to appoint after all?
They're going to put in Kevin.
Guess who they're going to appoint to Washington? They're going to put in Kevin Rudd, a man who is completely unsuited to be ambassador. He doesn't have the temperament.
No, let's get Stephen's reaction to that.
Why are Liberals campaigning for it? Why are George Brandis and Julie Bishop out there pushing Kevin Rudd for ambassador?
Julie and George are wrong. Amanda Vanstone was correct, absolutely correct. This bloke is totally unsuited to being ambassador. He doesn't have the right temperament. Don't forget, this is the guy that called the Chinese rat something during the Copenhagen conference.
And he was right.
He rang Benjamin Netanyahu when Netanyahu was Prime Minister, and he said, I need to come over to help you fix the Middle East problem. This bloke has delusions of extraordinary grandeur. If they appoint him, he'll be the worst appointment this government will ever make. He will be a disaster as ambassador to Washington. He'll create controversy everywhere he goes. He will run basically for Australian foreign policy out of Washington. And I know Albo owes him because they're mates from way back, but hang on to your hat. This fruitcake is going. If he goes over there with his anti-news limited petition, waving that around, for goodness sake!
Look, I think
that'll be a disaster.
I think they've got a silver bullet to fire in Julia Gillard, but they're not going to fire it. Instead, she's just been announced by the South Australian government as the head of a royal commission there, so she's busy. Of course, Stephen Smith was apparently busy looking into our defence force, but then no, he gets the job over in London. Anyway, Stephen, I'm sorry for your disappointment, but it means you get more time with us, which you will always be welcome here to be the ambassador for the Red Team. Now, just quickly, can we quickly talk? Now, surprise, surprise, another opinion poll tells us exactly what all of us know to be the case. Australians want action on climate change but don't want to pay for it. Well, every single poll's told us that for the best part of 10 years. Politics used to be absolutely you could bet on that, but very obviously things changed, be it the fires, be it the floods, be it the world condition, be it a change in demographics with more millennials now than baby boomers. But we know what the reality of politics is in Australia. The people want action on climate change. But, Stephen, they're not willing to pay for it. Last time I checked, when you sign a declaration at 43%, promise made, promise kept, when you say that you're going to move towards 83% renewable, promise made, promise kept, that is going to result in billions of dollars in infrastructure that has to be paid for by someone, which means it will be the customer. So even after all of those decisions have been made, people are still telling lefty pollsters that they don't want to pay for it, yet it seems impenetrable, the argument that all of this comes at a cost.
Well, I mean, the results of the last election tell you that people are prepared to vote for policies that push us down this renewable path. And the predictions of the Matt Canavans and the Peter Duttons and the Scott Morrisons and the Michael Krogers of the past are that this will, wipe out Whyalla. This will see the cost of a steak on a barbie, $100. I mean, it's sort of nonsense. It's been put to bed because, as I've said before, I give you a guarantee that Peter Dutton will go to the next federal election supporting 43%. He will absolutely be supporting it. Matt Keane and the Liberals are already supporting it. Matthew Guy here in Victoria
I don't disagree.
50%. I mean, every single Liberal is going to sign up at the next. Michael Kroger will be campaigning at the next federal election. Michael, for 43% because look, this is going to be a tricky balance to make sure we need to make sure that we get gas prices down. And I'm jumping ahead like Michael did. Michael was going to do his bold prediction, and he's already done it.
You're here for the hour, boys. Relax.
Michael, my bold prediction is that gas prices will be driven down by the Albanese government. They're not going to let this profiteering going on. They're going to take hard action to drive the prices back towards what they were before the Ukraine war started to distort the world market. They're just profiteering. Australians and manufacturing in this country are being absolutely screwed over by gas companies. And this government has just about had a gutful of it. So my bold prediction for this week, or very soon after, the gas companies will read the writing on the wall and they know what they have got to do, which is stop ripping off ordinary Australians.
So again, Michael, back to Sunday night conversation, right? This is why we're going to stick around and we'll have guests coming and going and all the rest of it, right? A little bit of an old school Paul Murray live format, right?
No, don't worry about them. Don't worry about them.
I know that's your attitude, but I'm going to get to other people, all right?
They just interrupt Stephen and I, mate. Well, they interrupt Stephen and I's brilliant flow of thought, mate.
But again, right, so perhaps this is, again, I want to have that conversation about what we thought were the fundamental gravitational pull of politics, right, which is as soon as it costs the average person X number of dollars, then they start to walk away from whatever the policy is, no matter how well-meaning it is. Is climate change different?
No, it's exactly the same, but here's the truth of the matter. If you ask people if they want something, they'll say yes. OK, well, are you prepared to pay for it? They will say no, particularly in a climate where the economy is tight, household budgets are tight, people don't have huge amounts of excess cash, apart from that they're spending at the retailers. But you know what I mean? Once that runs out, things are getting very tight because real wages are falling. So once the pandemic money is spent, then you'll see a fall off in spending. But no, it's the same answer to the same question. Do you want? If you said to people, do you think the ABC should have more money? They'd go, oh yeah. Are you prepared to pay for it? No, certainly not. Do you think we should have more money for pensioners? Yes. Well, are you prepared to pay for it? No. So it's the same question, same answer, no matter what it is. People say, yes, we should do something about problems, but will you pay for it? No. So, mate, this is no different to any other question asking the same thing, buddy.
All right, well, we'll get back to our conversation in a moment. Don't worry, lads, it's time for a quick orange break and a drink, because we'll get back to you in a second.